the Football Pod on Off the Ball in partnership with AIB, proud sponsors of the Football, Hurling and Camogie All-Ireland Club Championships. Hashtag the toughest.
Well, hello there, and you're very welcome along to Tommy Rooney's favourite episode of the Football Pod. 5,418 days, 43 provincial wins and 14 Leinster titles in a row. The dynasty is dead. The Royals have struck back and beaten Dublin. James O'Donoghue, the big reveal. Zip down that jacket, buddy. It's 2 against 1 today.
Huh? What are you talking about?
Look at that number 14.
Tasty. I don't know where I picked up this jersey either, but I'll tell you what, it is
pathetic.
I had it on from 15 minutes gone in the match. I had it on.
This is meant to be professional, cutting edge journalism, and fucking Mutt and Jeff come on here. Jesus,
I'm missing. I'm only winding Paddy up. But what a game! What a game! What a weekend again!
Oh, brilliant stuff. I've just turned on the Meath 88 jersey because to me that performance had a bit of 88 in it. It had the guts. It had the guts. It had the hits. Connor Duke made a foul on Paddy Small, and I never roared as loud in my life. In previous years, Paddy Small would have sauntered through the Meath defence and buried into the back of the net. Dukey just took him out of it. A 21-year-old just took him out of it, and Dublin got their free. There were just so many moments from Meath. Brian Menton coming back from retirement to win. Like Paddy, the kick-out stats were scary today. And that's not just down to Stephen Cluxton. I don't think he had the greatest day, but Meath ate them alive on the break for so long.
That's down to Brennan. I think a lot of that. Tactically, he was absolutely spot on both kickouts. And aerially, in fairness, Meath have a lot of big men. But you can have big men and be nowhere out there. You have to be in the right spots or you'll be exposed. And they were in the right areas all the time. And that you were able to, you have your base then for attacks constantly.
That was the platform. That was a huge platform for them. And unfortunately, from Dublin side, this check has been in the post for a while. Even listen, warning signs for this particular group. First half in Tralee, definitely the game up in Armagh, and we were on 5 weeks ago for that performance against Tyrone and Armagh. And you're kind of writing off and hoping that there's cobwebs were being dusted off and all that type of thing. But again, the Wicklow performance was not good enough. And today, you have to say, hands down, Meath were a better team, and it's full value. It's not only the big win in the first half or the rules or anything like that. Meath, far, far better all over the pitch. Midfield was a huge platform. It's not Cluxton's kickouts. It's the thing we said from day one this season. A lot of people focused on Dublin losing, all the All-Ireland medals and all this experience and stuff like that. But they lost huge quality in the players as well. Like Fitzsimons is still their man marker. That says it all. That he's 35, 36 years of age. So they've lost him. Small came back. That's his first match. And God knows how long. Probably showed a little bit. And then you take out Fenton and McCarthy around the middle. We said from day one, midfield was going to be a problem for Dublin. And it came home to roost today. Defensively, they are in massive, massive trouble. And it was shown today. But can I just say,
go for
those Meath players. And Robbie Brennan, exceptional first season in. I'm sure lots of Meath managers, Andy McEntee, Mick O'Dowd, all these guys over the years, Colin O'Rourke, have tried to get that energy and that fight into Meath. But look, they're playing against a better Dublin team, but they just couldn't see it. So he's created an environment for those players to do it. But those players, unbelievable credit. Only 4 or 5 weeks ago, lads, we were talking about the two coaches walk out and they were playing Carlow in the first round of the championship. And Jimmy, you went big saying this could be the end of their season. And that's at the time you're thinking that is a reasonable statement to make because the players had invested so much in these two exceptional coaches that came in. So those players, over the last 4 weeks, to win 3 championship matches on the spin. Okay, Carlow, they're expected to win. Offaly, there was a bit of pressure on them and they delivered. And today, an outstanding performance all over the pitch. Phenomenal stuff. I think those Meath players deserve all the credit. I thought it's incredible performance from them.
James, you also said how this was their opportunity to grab their careers by the scruff of the neck, and that's something that they've certainly done in the last couple of weeks. What stood out to you from that performance today?
Well, I couldn't agree more with that because those players must have come together and said, we can go this way or that way. And they have gone a career-changing direction. like to knock Dublin out there, has got all their supporters back on side. I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, it's like the team was kind of coming, but I don't think they've gotten full. We're all in it together, like maybe they have in Donegal under McGuinness. And you know, when you're going somewhere special like that, you need the supporters in behind. You need all the management team, the players in the same direction. But sometimes it takes one result to just start it off. And I think I'm hoping for me to say this was it. Like, what an unbelievable performance! And you know,
this has to be the spark, Jimmy, doesn't it? Like this has to be the spark for get that fire going. The one caveat I'd say, I know we're going to talk later on, they play Louth in the final. Meath have to back this up. It's not like when Cork beat Kerry in 2020 and then they lost the Munster final to Tipperary. Meath have to back this up, and that's where Robbie Brennan is going to come in massively over the next 2 weeks, because the reaction to this, it's only a couple of hours old, lads, and we see the reaction online across the media, the reaction in Meath, which is going to be brilliant. Huge crowd are going to be at that Leinster final, but they've got to back it up. But sorry for jumping the gun there.
No, it will be the spark. It will be spark. But like, I think we can't, like, Meath played unbelievably well, but the way that they managed the conditions as well. So they obviously had a huge advantage at the start of the match with the wind. And you can come out of the game maybe too tentatively. You can try and feel your way into the game, and you can almost miss your chance to make hay with the wind. They went and they tried to score heavily straight out of the bat. They went for the 2-pointers. They were working scores, kicking on site. They missed a load. Robbie Brennan was pulling his hair out inside the field because they were actually missing as well. But they were creating so much. They were going for the game. And because they scored so heavily, it gave them something. It gave them something to hang on to. And it gave them that belief. So I give them all the credit in the world, because they were bad enough and brave enough then to hang on to lead and not give Dublin that lifeline. No, they tried to, actually, when they got turned over, and obviously Costello gets the goal. But even after that, they stemmed the tide. So you'd have to say they'd reached somewhere deep in the gut and pulled out a great result as well.
What else they had, Jimmy? They took advantage of conditions because they had the quality to fucking do it.
Yeah.
And that is the glaring thing on our side. Like, this was not an ambush or a refereeing decision. That made it played the better football here, like, and executed the better football. James Conlon, Owen Frayne, Matthew Costello, absolute tore that Dublin defence to shreds and had the quality to do that in the first half and in the second. Like, Owen Frayne kicks an unbelievable score. Conlon gets his 5th point from play in the second half, when not only is the quality, they were big moments, because Dublin were always going to come, and particularly when Costello gets the goal and conditions are in their favour. I'm sure Meath supporters were sitting in the stands or watching it on TV kind of going, we knew this was coming, are Dublin going to get out of this? But they didn't deserve to get out of it, and that's because of Meath. Quality dominated around the middle third. That was the platform. Dublin had no platform, and that's testament to the men Meath had around the middle. Paddy O'Coffer-Byrne wins a couple of kickouts for Dublin, but that was Meath's area to pitch. And again, Robbie Brennan, the way they were set up, but also those players to execute. But inside, Frayne, Conlon, quality. Proper quality. And like, they should have scored even more.
Yeah, like you mentioned, James, the early wides, right? Like, with the wind, I was a little bit like, oh God, don't lose the energy, right? Because I've seen it happen so many times with Meath teams where they'd have a chance. And Paddy, I've referenced the 2019 Leinster final, and nobody else will remember this, but that day, Meath kept Dublin to 5 points at half time, but they only scored one themselves. They froze. But the thing was, that was in Croke Park. A little bit of credit here has to go eventually, when their bloody provincial championship was on its knees, the Leinster Council took the semi-finals out of Croke Park for the first time since 1995. That had an impact today. James, it did.
It did. 100% it did. But I mean, Jesus Christ, the horse is bolted at its edge. That should have been done years ago. And the next, you know what's next? The All-Ireland quarterfinals and the All-Ireland semi-finals. Until they can fill the stadium, keep it out of Croke Park, because that's how you have days like today.
I fully agree with you. But I just want to make a note on the oxygen, right? And the momentum. Because when the Dublin onslaught came, and Con and Costello and Kilkenny and Paddy Small are still in their forwards. I know Sean Bugler was a big loss, but when they were going at Meath and they were turning a lot of Meath attacks over in around midfield, they had a high press on. They got their goal.
Yeah, they got a little bit of joy out of that,
Yeah, they got a goal. They got a 2-pointer. and you were like, oh Jesus, fair enough. They put up a great fight. Dublin still have the boys there. Meath still dug it out. I'll be honest, I was broken with about 10 minutes ago. I was
We
like,
seen.
this is
Looking at the
inevitable.
the
This is
timeline of your
inevitable.
WhatsApp, were getting more and more desperate. As I said, lads, I was literally coming out of the hospital with my 36-hour-old daughter, and Dorena's like,
I'm
"Please
sorry.
put your phone away. We need to get our daughter home safe." And I was like, "The fucking
Paddy.
Dubs need to pull this out of the bag."
Paddy, I had planned to start the pod by welcoming lovely little Eden to the pod and to the world. Congratulations.
Yeah,
both.
what a bad. That was her first experience of the Dubs like today, and I was like promising her, I was like, Eden, it's not going to be like this. Trust me, there's better days ahead.
It might be. It might just be.
No, Hugo was October 23, so he didn't even see the last one. Like, geez, it's
he
going to be a while before they're looking at Sam Maguire, I would imagine, unfortunately. But
Yes.
no, you're right, Tommy. Like, first 10 minutes of that game, you could just see they were all over Dublin. Like, Kieran Caulfield, we say he's an exceptional year of the Sigerson with
Excellent
DCU.
player. Excellent
Hold
player.
on.
Yeah, isn't he? He's quality, but he's a good defender.
He took off from Niall Scully at one stage, Paddy, and they were neck and neck in midfield. Scully maybe was injured or something. He gets whipped about 3 minutes later. He left
Scully
15
wasn't
yards
at his
behind.
best.
Yeah,
But it's his mentality, Tommy. You could see, and this is what I'm talking about. I mean, Menton, obviously, he's been around the block. Donald Keoghan, these guys. You could just see there was a sense of Meath coming out today, and it was like, and this is what Robbie Brennan would have to create in that team. Now, like, this is not Dublin of your nightmares over the last decade. This is not that team, and the genie's out of the box here, lads. Like, the aura around Dublin is gone. But it was still, for some teams, particularly in Leinster, who've been on serious beatdowns for basically their whole career on the back of Dublin teams, that scar tissue can be there. But Meath, you could just see straight away from today, they were like, we're coming after you guys. They went after Cluston's kickouts. They went after Dublin in possession all over the pitch. Like Caulfield, Jack Flynn, Menton around midfield. And like I say, the three boys inside were just like, there's no Keane O'Sullivan or Johnny Cooper here minding the house. Whoever's on us, you mentioned it last week, Jimmy, about it. You go in and you jog into your position and go, I actually fancy this one here today. And that was the mentality made, and you could see it in the first 10 minutes. And it was a great play to go with that win at the start of the game and get off to such a fast start. Should have been further ahead, but from minute one, and yeah, Dublin had their purple patch in the third quarter, but again, their quality let them down, and this was something we've seen. Most notably, people are talking about Dublin defensively are not at the races, and look, that's evident. Obviously, we've seen that so many times already this season. But up front, erratic shooting. They don't have the quality to take advantage of the 2-point rule. We've seen this most notably that game in Armagh. I was really worried. Dublin get on top in the second half of that, and they just start taking crazy shots and can't get it back. And we've just seen that again today. And from blue chip experienced players, if Khan isn't shooting the lights out or Kieran's not chipping in with massive scores, Dublin looks so ordinary, and that's there's problems all over the pitch for them today.
Do you know when?
But that's because of what Meath's approach.
Yeah. Do you know when they look as ordinary as I've seen them in a long time, Paddy? Was when they broke, right? And I think Ross McGarry tried to give a hand pass to Pascal. They'd got the goal and they were coming, and they had a turnover on the fence and they were breaking. And next thing, it was like the unthinkable. They got turned over when they were nearly through for a guaranteed score. And it was at that stage I was like, yeah, this isn't Dublin. I think like straight away after, McEnany kicks the ball back over the sideline. He goes back. He actually kicks it to Meath, fella back over the halfway line. So like they made some completely uncharacteristic mistakes. And Meath did take advantage of that then. And Meath were also making mistakes, but Dublin's
they were.
Unthinkable.
Jimmy, those mistakes they are not uncharacteristic mistakes. This is not the same team. Not the same players. And this is the massive challenge ahead for Dublin going forward. The standards that have been set are nowhere near what's currently in the group. And those mistakes, decision-making, execution, they're actually becoming characteristics, not uncharacteristic. We are seeing that time and it. I've watched every one of their games this season and shades of this last year as well. Unfortunately, those things are happening in every game. This is not 5 years ago. We're going, that's unthinkable that could happen. You're nearly waiting for it to happen.
Yeah.
And that is the quality. It's missing. It's missing.
You can tell it's missing from the core of the group because Meath were 2 points, or they were. How many were Meath at the closest? What was in it?
They got it down
back to two.
Back to two. And Pascal kicks for a 2-pointer, but he leaves it miles wide on the right. Then Kilkenny shoots for a 2-pointer, and it doesn't even go to play. Like, there's no doubt that because they're just not operating at full level, that their decision making is off, and then they're forcing it, and one thing leads to another. It's just like this.
There was also
round and round.
I thought there was a moment as well that was quite telling. Dublin get a 45. Cormac Costello stands over it. The commentators and GA Plus are like, "Oh, is Cluxton coming up?" Costello waves him up. Then Cluxton gets waved back. Then Costello slips. And I know, look, there's an element of luck with that too, but the decision making was off.
Yeah, it was.
I felt there was one stage as well where Conor Callaghan was bearing down on goal, and he had all the time in the world, and he did the right thing, but he was waiting. He was ready to make a goal. He was ready to make a goal chance, and he waited and he waited, and nobody made the right move, and he had to just punch it over the bar. So,
but look, I think it's important that it's important we don't get too stuck in Dublin because it's such a day for Meath. And one fella that stood out for me all through, especially in the first half, was Frayne, because all he wanted to do was pull the trigger. Any angle from the left, he was pulling it. And I think he got two pointers in the first half. And he also had one where Cluxton brilliantly tipped it over to take away the 2-pointer, bring it back to a 1. But the threat of him kicking the 2-pointers, it gives you so much belief that we can pull away here, and it also puts doubt in the opposition's mind. It's like we need to stop that fella, and it opens up even more space. Like he was so trigger happy. I think
his best score, Jimmy, was the second half when he cuts inside Davy Byrne again, and outside the right foot. Incredible score.
Steps. Yeah, apparently he took too many steps. So we'll get to that later.
Look, that's all right. I know. Look, to be fair to the referees, there was a big emphasis on it this week. I just want to see them do that every week. You know, when the focus comes on, it's like the weekend they do it, and then it goes out the window again. But on Frayne,
it was a hell of a score.
On Frayne, we spoke. The Meath Louth game, the last game of the National League, we obviously did a bit of a piece on that time. We were about watching it that day, and Meath shooting was not good that day. And it was that Louth were more, and that's a rematch in Leicester Final in 2 weeks' time. Louth looked like a team who were just further down the road than Meath, more clinical, smarter on the ball. And Frayne had a tough day. Again, conditions were tough, but for players like that, you said it, Jimmy, at the start of the show. It's rare young lads come in and they shoot the lights out like that. It usually takes time, a season or two. We're seeing it, I think Rob Finnerty's a great example of this. He looks like he's gone to the next level as a player because he's got that confidence now on the back of, winning an All-Star with Galway and things like that. Frayne's not at that level yet. But a performance like today for someone like him and 5 or 6 of those other guys in that Meath team, the likes of Caulfield and stuff, that can be the launch pad to move them through. The quality they shown is there. The thing now that makes you a top player and helps Meath win Leinster championships and try and move on the All-Ireland series in this, 3-4 years in the making. You need days like today to do that and to go out and shed the demons that's been there with Meath and Dublin for like 15 fucking years, lads, since 2010. I was there the last time that happened. So it's what a day for them, but the quality of those guys showed. And that's the point I'm making. I'm not like Dublin are in a tough place. What I want to see from Meath's side, and I know obviously vested interest want Jared to do very well, but Louth, from Meath's side, they have to back this up. They have to back this up with that performance in Croke Park in 2 weeks' time, because there's a bit of pressure now. This is a new situation for them, where they're probably going in as favourites to the Leinster final.
Ooh,
and
I don't know about that.
Tommy,
I'm not saying that.
Tommy,
Hold on a second.
Tommy, they're after whopping Dublin. Meath will be favourites.
Tommy, 1-4.
And those players have to deal with that. So, but that's the exciting thing for them. If you're a Meath player, Tommy, cut the shit here. Like, we don't want to be fair.
I'm not saying we don't want to be fair.
The Meath players should be going into that game going, yes, this is what we're here for. We've taken out Dublin. Fuck them. They're finished. Get out of our way. We're going into Croke Park to win the Leinster title for me. That has to be the mentality. And that's where Robbie Brennan comes in for the next 2 weeks as well. Everything he's done, it's been exceptional since that issue they had at the end of the National League. So that's what I'd love to see from Meath in 2 weeks' time.
I would say, Tommy, if you don't win it now, I mean, like, it's basically name on the trophy stuff.
James, there's a lot that goes into Meath.
You're going to be a nervous wreck here, Tommy.
I forgot I have my Meath jersey on. I've just taken it off there, and I'm gonna pack it away again for a couple of weeks. No, I'm joking. Meath and Louth, right? Leinster final. Louth, like, let's not like dismiss this now. The people in Louth are absolutely delirious today. They have now gone to 3 Leinster finals in a row, and all of a sudden, Meath have knocked out Dublin, and now they have an opportunity to do what they've been working towards. Yeah, revenge. Forget about revenge, Paddy. Right?
That's the narrative, Tommy. That's what it's got to be. Yeah, that's what it's got to be.
Yeah, true. But forget about revenge. But like, think of that squad themselves and how they have driven themselves from the lows that they were in, the Mickey Harte era, bouncing back from Hart, getting to an All-Ireland quarter-final last year. And we've seen the progress. A good performance against Dublin last year in the Leinster final, not good enough. Now they have an opportunity in Louth to do something that is it 70 years since Louth last won a. I'm going to get that wrong here. I better double check that, but it's a long time since
the 50s,
Louth last one.
I think was it John Heston said on GA Plus. He actually said that point. He said it very well. It was like John Louth would have been thinking, or even if we lose the Leinster final, we're second seeds. We're in the Sam Maguire. We're safe, and they'd have felt good about themselves. But now with Dublin gone, they'd have been
history.
They'd have been thinking, this is now our chance. Like this has completely changed their mindset. It'd be interesting to see how they go into it, because they'd have got that huge boost from Dublin going out. I know, like, you might say it's weak mentally to be relying on another result, but like, that's human nature. It's
the reality.
Fact. It is the reality. They're delighted that Dublin are out, and Meath are the ones that put them out. So both sides are coming into this on a euphoric high. And this,
I think it's a brilliant final. I think it's a brilliant final. Like it really is. And I know we did a show with Meath. When did we do that, Tommy? Like, we were having a bit of a chat with a couple of friends down in Trim there a few weeks ago, and we were really laughing. The Leinster Championship was a great championship without Dublin. Leinster Championship, it's what a final we're going to see, and what on Louth specifically. We may chat about them now, their performance against Kildare.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
The big plus for them. I thought Kildare did a lot of good stuff in that game, lads. A lot of good stuff. First 20 minutes was the best I'd seen from Kildare in, Jesus, I'd say nearly since the McGeaney reign. But some of the old habits kicked in, a little bit erratic with shooting, a little bit erratic in possession. But also just that experience with Louth. We said this is what Louth did against Meath that last day in the National League to secure kind of their status in Division 2. If you look, the game is level with 4 minutes to go, and Kildare have 2 attacks. Long periods of possession. One of them, they end up just hitting a Hail Mary ball inside to try and get a break off Kevin Feely. And the other one, I think it's a hand pass turnover, just a mix up. Corner forward trying to get it to Darren Kerwin. Just sloppy play. It was a team that was kind of out on their feet because they'd worked so hard, and the team just haven't been in that position of winning games. Louth go up the other end. They've 2 plays, and they kick 3 points. One is the score, and then Tommy Durnan comes up with an absolute monster 2-pointer. And it was just a team who are a little bit more composed and a little bit further down the track. And the biggest plus for Louth today, winning the game, obviously. Sam Mulroy was back. Mm-hmm. Craig Lennon was back. Sam Mulroy kicks 9 or 10 points. Craig Lennon gets 3 points. Tommy Durnan's in from the start. He obviously only came on the last night against Leith. Louth, the challenge they've had all year is getting these guys, their bodies, their main guys back on the pitch. And like, these are key players. They're the 3 best players for Louth. So for Louth to stay in Division 2, missing all these guys, but the plus was to get them on the pitch today. They all delivered. And it was a brave effort from Kildare. That little bit of quality, that maybe that little bit of inexperience in their team came through, but that's fine. They have a long journey ahead of them. Maybe to Talta Cup, and potentially they'd be a strong team in that. Might not be the worst team for the development of that team. I know they won't see it that way this evening, but for Louth, Durnan, when it was in the melting pot, what a fucking performance. And what a battle now, that Meath midfield against that Louth midfield.
Can I come in there, right?
I thought it was a brilliant finish to that game, and credit to Louth.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Durnan point. He feels the kick out before that and Louth keep the ball.
Unbelievable play.
It was an unbelievable move.
But that's experience, Tommy. Yeah. That's experience. And that Louth team has been on this journey for 4 or 5 years.
And use two boys are trying to make Louth or Meath favourites for the Leinster final.
Tommy, it's Meath to lose. It's Meath to lose.
There's going to be so much sneering on this pod for the next 2 weeks.
No. I'm
Stop
looking
it
at.
What are you going to
at
do, Tommy? If Meath
68
win the
years.
Leinster Championship, what are you going to do? Like,
I'm not working on it.
Your head
I can't be working at it.
Your head will explode. Like.
when they win it.
We need to do the football pod live from the Leinster final.
Yeah, well, let's try and do that, lads.
The
Just-
Delaney Cup is back. I've
Can I
had
just
that
make one
Delaney
point,
Cup in
James?
the boot of my car for the last 10 years.
Yeah, you have. James, let me just make a point. I don't want to put myself on mute again like last week. Just give me 1 second here, okay? I mentioned 70 years since Louth last won a title. 68 years since their last great team won a Leinster title in 57. They've obviously had good teams before that, but 57. And we've mentioned this is 3 Leinster finals in a row for Louth. I felt Kildare played some of the best football I've seen Kildare play in the last couple of months, last couple of years.
First 20 minutes was very impressive.
But I was really impressed, Paddy, with some of their decision making later in the game as well. I haven't seen that in some of the Kildare games I've covered. There's a young team coming there in Kildare, good signs today. But Louth were the real team there today. And they illustrated that late on. You mentioned the boys that have come back. The quality of Kieran Downey being back and being fit. He was missing last year. Kieran Byrne is the one big loss they have. Surely there is a huge pressure on this Louth team to deliver as well. And they've had a tough couple of weeks with bodies, right? And trying to get people right. And the stress of not knowing, is my hamstring going to be 100%? James, can I just ask you about their mentality now? Surely this is like the greatest release to actually have this now for the next couple of weeks, that you've got this Meath Leinster final. They'll be absolutely itching to get to 100% for it.
I think so. I think that little mentality change where they were happy, but now they've got this unbelievable career-changing chance. Like, that helps with your injury recovery as well. Like, you're suddenly feeling like,
Yeah.
you know, actually the hamstring isn't that bad. Or, you know, if you're getting into the oxygen chambers you spoke about before, you're getting into the cryotherapy, you're getting hands-on every day now. I mean, it's whatever you can do to be involved in that day, because Louth will think that they're favourites. I mean, 3 in a row is no mean feat. Like, that's good going.
100% be
Yeah.
favourites. It doesn't matter, but they will be.
Tommy, you're going too strong on this now. You're going too strong. It's very 50-50.
He's lost control already. He's lost control already.
He's trying to make it into Meath or these massive underdogs. They're not, Tom. They've just beaten the Dubs.
They're not massive underdogs. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying
the
that
biggest
Louth
thing I'd
have
say-
earned the right to being the second best team in Leinster for the last 3 years. Now go and claim top dogs in Leinster.
I don't know.
The mentality, I'd say, for both sets of players, right? There's pressure on both sets of players to deliver here, right? Because it is a massive opportunity for them. Like, the reality is, Leinster Championships, the Dublin players were irrelevant. That's just how it had become over the last decade or so. But for both these groups of players, this is a phenomenal opportunity to create history. And that's what I'm saying. Meath, it's brilliant today, but they've got to go in 50 years' time or 20 years' time, the lads were tired. They won't really focus on winning the Leinster Meath if they don't back it up and win the final against Louth. And that's the same for Louth's side. All the progress they've made, all the work under Mickey Hart and carried on with Ger Brennan, those players will put pressure on themselves to deliver, because we can win the Leinster Championship. You know, like, it's nearly 70 fucking years since they won it. So they won't need external people to put pressure on them, and the build up in Meath and Louth is going to be amazing. We know the rivalry between those counties. The Leinster final has become all of a sudden, you know, it's a big game in the GAA calendar now, because it hasn't been. You know, so all outside those camps, there will be folks in this game, but the players will be putting pressure on themselves, because this is such a massive opportunity to have a day of days in your career. Yeah, and that's on the line for both teams.
But you know, like Meath went to Croke Park in 2023 in the Tailteann final and won the trophy. Right now, you might kind of say that means nothing. Like, that does mean something. They've gone to Croker, delivered, and brought home silverware. Louth have gone to Croke Park last 2 years in Leinster final and lost. Now, does it matter in the scheme of things? Probably not to Louth, but to Meath, they'll have that winning feeling in Croke Park, and they'll want it again, and they'll know how to do it and what they did maybe that time, and they just have the experience of delivering in a final, and that could actually have a little bit of impact for them. It might make it easier in the preparations. I'm just actually looking at a classic photo here. It's of Craig Lennon, right? celebrating
Oh my god!
Yeah, see,
Unbelievable.
after kicking out for the 45, and every other player is hands on the head going, "What have you just done?"
I was dreading just for him alone if that 45 somehow
Yeah.
ended up in the net and we're in extra time.
Because they
It
got
was
two
just
45s out of it as well.
who goes at it? Yeah, it was. But he was brilliant today for Loud. But that moment, I seen the photo. It's a great heads and
Carpaccio,
hands
wasn't
go.
it?
What are you doing?
I think the keeper is celebrating too, who had a
The
brilliant game. He
keeper
made two
is,
brilliant
yeah.
saves.
But,
He
but
made two brilliant saves.
the big thing,
McDonald.
look, I know we'll build up to the final obviously in 2 weeks' time because we obviously want to talk about what happened in Ulster as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Unbelievable game there in Clonus yesterday. The big focus for that Leinster final, these teams played each other 5 weeks ago in the last day of the league, and Louth were a team that just they nearly bullied Meath around the pitch. They were further on that, and that was Meath obviously lose Jordan Morris right at the end of that game. And who does that? Meath would Jordan Morris would shoot the lights out against Dublin. But what have Meath learned since that? If they're in that situation again, it's going to be a close game. Can they show that composure that Louth seem to just that bit of experience, that little bit of physicality they showed? They kind of dominated Meath when they needed to. Can Meath turn that around in the space of 5 weeks? Just things to focus on. Like I say, this has all of a sudden become one of the biggest, one of the most hotly anticipated games of the summer, and we were not thinking that.
Yeah.
When did we record last? Well, 5 days ago. A lot has happened in the last 5 days, but things have changed massively, which is great.
It is. Can I just make one other point here, because we've got to move to Ulster. But another major implication from the game today is where Dublin now appear in the All-Ireland series. They are entering as third seeds, and they've moved Derry down as fourth seeds. So a confirmed
They've
first
moved
or
Derry
second
down.
seeds.
There's going to be some group. There's going to be one group of death here.
So the confirmed first and second seeds are your 8 provincial finalists. So you've got Kerry Clare, you've got Donegal Armagh, which we'll get there, you've got Meath and Louth, and you've got Galway and Mayo. The third seeds confirmed are Dublin, Monaghan, Roscommon, Tyrone. The fourth seeds that are confirmed are Derry, Cavan, Cork and Down. Kildare obviously in the Tailteann Cup. So there are, and I noticed we are obviously heading to cover our roadshow. We haven't even mentioned it yet. We're actually about to do a reveal on our guests. We've got 2 phenomenal guests coming this week as well. We've got a roadshow this Friday night in Galway. I am not going to talk about Meath, I promise. It's going to be unbelievable. But Enda McGearty of the RF pod, they have their own show in Swinford that night. He's already visualised, so he's a Mayo man, already visualised a dream scenario and a nightmare scenario for Mayo, right? So the worst best scenario is that Mayo could get in their groups. You lose the Connacht final and you end up in a group with Donegal, Mayo, Dublin and Derry. You win the Connacht final, and this is a nightmare scenario. You end up in a group with Mayo, Armagh, Dublin and Derry. This is the best scenarios they could get. You win it and you end up with a Clare, Roscommon and Cavan, or you lose it and you've got Meath, Roscommon and Cavan. But someone is getting an unbelievable group. James, who would you like to see arrive down to Killarney if Kerry get the job done as first seeds? Who are the third seeds that you would like to arrive to Killarney for their round 1 game? Come on, Jimmy. What does the town want?
Dublin, Kerry and Killarney would be fucking sensational.
They'd have to start ordering pint bottles down to Killarney right now if Dublin were coming down.
Can you promise us that if Dublin Kerry are meeting in round 1, that instead of doing the housewarming on Zoom, you'll invite me and Paddy down and we can stay that night?
I will. Oh, stay? No, not stay.
You don't want me staying in that flat.
You can call. You can see the garden. You might come in. I see. No, you can of course call in. But I think like that group that Kerry could get now if they beat Clare, it could be frightening. Even like a Tyrone in Killarney, a Dublin in Killarney, there'd be a huge crowd. Even with the new rules, there's going to be a bigger crowd at all these games. I think Kerry got Monaghan last year in the group. It was a complete damn squib. Like it was 24.
Did on a GA go. It was diabolical. You weren't even at it, Jimmy.
You were at
You watched it. You curled up on the couch and fell asleep.
I saw highlights on the Sunday.
I was at it, Jimmy. You lived 10 minutes. You lived 5 minutes from the ground, and I was at it, and you weren't.
Yeah, no.
That
did not get the blood flowing.
What a championship! We said before, and this was going to be. Yes, the rules are playing their part, but
it's all about the rules.
The gap between the teams, but also, Jimmy, the gap between the teams is. We'll talk about Tyrone now. Tyrone and Armagh, like Tyrone have a sting in their tail for team. I was very impressed with them. Dublin, as bad as they were today, they can still take a team out. Bugler will make a difference there. Dublin are not going to win the All-Ireland, but nobody's going to want them as third seeds either as well. So the competition between lots of the teams has made it brilliant. The rules have made it exceptional, but what an exciting 8 weeks ahead. People shit on Gaelic football for so many years. We're back, baby. It's phenomenal stuff. Ulster Championship, tell me, bring us to Clonus yesterday. What a game.
Okay. Let's pause on that thought, Paddy. We're going to take a quick break in the football pod and we're coming back with Ulster. The football pod is brought to you every week with thanks to AIB, proud sponsor of the Senior Football Championship. Where are they bringing us this week, Paddy? We're on the road on Friday night. Where are we off to?
We're off to Galway, baby. Out west.
We can't wait for it. Yeah, we've got a brilliant show lined up. We've actually added a couple of tickets on. There was a load of them went before the weekend. We're announcing our guests tonight, right now. Okay, so in the Galway corner, to add a little bit of decorum and a little bit of balance to the setup, we've one of the finest fullbacks of his generation, Finian Hanley, is joining us tonight.
A good man as well. A good man.
To add a little bit of stardust and a little bit of the villain in the corner, perhaps we can get him to take that Undertaker entrance. I am really looking forward to welcoming this guest to the football pod. And anyone in the Galmount is going to be treated to the Michael Conroy experience.
Oh.
This is going to be saucy. And
he has a few stories in the locker, in fairness, doesn't he?
Oh, he's ready to go. And he made a promise. He said, Tommy, I'll do the pod for you, only if the boys go out in the beer with me that night. So we have a night out in the town in Galway.
Send him my apologies, but you give Mikey Conroy 3 pints before he goes on stage, and we're in for a good night there, lads.
You're allowed an excuse there. But yeah, Michael Conroy, debut at 19 in an All-Ireland final. He has a bit of a journey to make it back with the Mayo again, the Mayo seniors again, but he scored 1-1 on that debut, and I think he started 3 All-Ireland finals for Mayo. I'm not sure he ever started a Connacht final, which is a really interesting quirk. But
man, for a big day. That's why he's perfect for the roadshow. He's really here for the big roadshow.
Yeah. Can't wait to hear what they have to say about Galway Mayo. We're back after this, right? Tickets, sorry. I'll put up the story. I'll put up the link. You can still get a couple of tickets. There's still a few left. We're in the Galmount Hotel and Spa Friday night, 7 p.m. doors, and we'll have a great show for you that night. And will we try and convince AIB and Off the Ball to let us do a show before Meath and Louth? Will we try and do something for the Leinster final? We would take it. I
think we need to figure something out here, because that's become the hottest ticket in town. It was Taylor Swift last year. It's the Leinster football final this year.
We're back. And we'll be back right after this. You're very welcome back to the Football Pod with Paddy Andrews and James Dunhu. It's Sunday night. It's nearly 9 o'clock. We need to let James sneak out. Jimmy, you have an appointment.
Sneak out. I have no responsibilities. I don't need to sneak out. I can just...
You have an appointment on your way home.
There's a lovely pint of Guinness waiting for me in Dan Lennon's. Well earned. After a tough week.
Jimmy, we just had a fucking baby there 10 minutes ago. Like, I need a pint.
Let the rain out. Okay.
To be fair.
From Dan Linehan's to Clonus this weekend. And Clonus actually on Saturday the 10th of May. I think it's going up against Clare and Tip at the same time, which is a bit unfortunate. But the game is not going to be in Croke Park. The Ulster final is going to be a glorious occasion. And we've got Donegal and Armagh. After Donegal got the job done today against Down. Down lost by 6 in the end. You put up a bit of a fight. Donegal got over the line. But let's go to Saturday night, Paddy.
Professional from Donegal today. Yeah, Saturday was the game.
Let's go to Saturday night, because Armagh, serious character, the character of All-Ireland champions, get the job done. But do you want to start with Tyrone? Is that where you want to go?
No, I think credit to both teams. I thought it was a brilliant game. We spoke a lot about it last week. We expected it to be a top-class game. The big thing was Canavan going to start. He was. It wasn't at his best, but I don't think it was fitness-wise. I think it was just a credit to Armagh and marshaled that very well. I thought overall Armagh probably did deserve it, but the big thing for takeaway from me from Alec O'Rourke and those Tyrone players, there's so little in that game between these two teams. These are the type of games that Armagh had lost for 2 or 3 seasons down the stretch, point here, a point there. And Begini was always adamant that we're not that far away. And he was right, they weren't. There's so little between these teams. We've seen it with McStay last year, with Mayo losing games. Connacht final, dodgy enough call, Conor Gleeson kicks the score, and the whole narrative changes. And that was where Tyrone were yesterday. You look the last 66 minutes on the clock. They're 22-20 up. And they've 2 attacks. Michael McKiernan goes along the end line. And to be fair, Soupy Campbell gets a tackle on him. McKiernan is looking for this free, to be fair. And Goff, the one thing about David Goff, he backs himself. He makes the big call. And he made that call. McKiernan was trying to play for it, but a lot of refs, because he easily seen Soupy Campbell's arm coming across and gave the free, and that would have put Tyrone 3 up and probably win the game. But Tyrone, Armagh go up and get a score. Soupy Campbell gets a score off that. And then a massive play. And I just thought this was incredible and epitomised what Armagh were about. They're such a team. Jimmy, you've said it a few times. They've lost Ryan O'Neill, that's starters. He was the outlier nearly, the X-Factor player. But what they've developed over the last 2 or 3 seasons, and again, that All-Ireland win, you can just see a confidence about them. They have such strength across their squad. I thought Ross McCullough was exceptional yesterday. He kicks 3 points. He's wearing number 5, but he's playing
Class.
He's playing fucking every position around the pitch. He was exceptional. But Derek Canavan gets a ball. Again, it's 22-21. Cuts across the D. Do you remember this play?
Great tackle.
And he does the bounce, and you think he's away now. He's going to kick the score. And that could have been an insurance point nearly. And McQuillan comes in with an exceptional tackle. Yeah. It's so good. Armagh keep the ball then for the next 2 minutes until they get that equalising score. And it's that play wins them the game. That Ross McQuillan, a guy who's not a superstar, he's been asked to do a job, but he's got pace. They're so well coached there, Armagh. And here's a guy who just has a massive influence on the game. And Armagh have so many players like that. And that's what McGeeney and Donaghy and McKeever and these guys have created. He makes an exceptional play on Tyrone's danger man. Armagh keep the ball for the next 2 minutes, kick the equaliser, and then Charlie O'Burns wins the dodgy kick out from Morgan. Another unbelievable performance by him. He was on the bench most of last season. Yeah. On the bench most last season. They work the play to Grugan, pops it into Turbot. Turbot comes off the bench. Fucking hell, here's an all-star. So the depth Armagh have, the quality around the team, but those couple of plays, that was the difference between Tyrone losing the game and Armagh winning it. But it said a lot about Armagh, the type of players that made those plays and won them the game in the end.
But you know,
the margins, so tight.
That tackle by McQuillan, that was, Canavan had to take the hop because he knew he'd be done for steps. Just think about how that tackle would not have happened if the steps rule is not in place. He'd have just ran around him, taken 40 steps and chipped a point, which is not the skill. The skill is to have to work your plays into it. And I agree, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable defending. That one-on-one defending is quality. But you know, that's the first point that I want to talk about, was obviously Goff was so harsh on the steps, but I think it did make a job of it. And also his performance in general, he was kind of I'd say he was trending on Twitter, but for the Turbot foul at the end of the game, did you think that it was a foul?
Your thoughts? Go on. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I've watched it about 50 times. I think, what's wrong?
I'll send you an angle that you haven't seen. Go on now.
Well, is it going to change?
Jesus Christ.
Is it going to change
your mind? But go on. No, sorry, I'm not stopping you.
In normal time, I'm thinking it's soft, but it's probably free. But then when I see the replays, I'm thinking it's really harsh to lose the game on it, is what I'm thinking.
But Goff will make those calls. I think he deserves. Doesn't always get them right. And look, refs. No, not every ref gets everything right. But he has the balls to make those calls. He's made the call with McKiernan, and he was totally right. And I think in the end, it was probably.
I've seen that angle, Tommy. Sorry, Paddy.
Do you not think that? I thought that makes it definitely a free.
Look, Turbert's a clever forward. Turbert's looking for any sort of contact, and it's excellent attacking play. And I would have done the exact same thing. You were waiting for the contact, and if it's any bit sloppy, you're hoping for a free.
I didn't know if he was gonna. I didn't think he was gonna give it. Because Paddy Hart comes in, it's brilliant from Turbot because he loses Hampsey with a backdoor cut, and Hampsey he's only coming back from injury, and it was brilliant from Turbot, and it was brilliant from Rory Grugan.
Beautiful,
one of my favourite players, lads. He's smart. Pops it into him those loopy hand passes in the D. If you're on the end receiving one of them, you're just waiting for someone to take the head off you. But Grugan makes the play. Turbot gets on there, and Paddy Hart comes across, sees it, and looking back, what can he do there? Turbert's better doing
He
a
has to
goal.
make contact with him. He has to hit him.
No, I think
somewhere.
he says don't make contact because Turbot has to take a play. If he makes any contact, like you say, Jimmy, and like I would have done as well, you are going to ground there. Just you're going, someone please come in and tackle me, and I'm going down here. Please hit me. And PDR comes in, arms out, like, and it's like it is harsh, but it's. I think if he just lets him go and just runs with him, Turbert's running into more traffic. They could probably try and get a turnover. But I'm saying, look, Pete, you're desperate. This is the last play. The Hooters gone. It's a brilliant moment under the rules again. The drama of it.
Yeah.
I think. I think ultimately it was a free. Petey Hart does not do a lot wrong, but it's brilliant play from Grugan and from Turbot to lose Hampsey. And fair play to Goff for making the call because lots of refs would have just said, "Fuck this! Like, let's do extra time here, lads." Do you know what I mean?
I'm actually been looking. I've been waiting for the behind the goal footage of this because I wanted to get a screen grab of it. Somebody deserves incredible credit for that final score, right? And you haven't. You've sort of half mentioned it, right? And it's sort of mentioned on commentary. Jardy O'Burns wins the kick out, but he goes down injured, and he goes down injured in the attacking half of the field.
So they drag him by the ankles, pull him back over.
The Armagh physio drags him back to the defensive side.
Did they?
Pulls him back. Yeah, Armagh physio pulls him back so referee can go
that's
forward.
Against the rules. That's against the rules.
Who does Rory Grugan play the 1-2 with? Referee to Grugan to Turbot. That doesn't happen without the thinking. And that's
which you can see Rafferty is screaming at Charlie O to get back. And Charlie O's arm is hanging off. It was like fucking Saving Private Ryan at one stage.
Yeah, because Armagh had two players down. Jamar Hall, I think, was down at the time as well. So Armagh actually had two players down at the time. But just that little bit of ingenuity. You mentioned it about McQuillan earlier on, and you mentioned about Jardy O'Burns. And we've spoken a lot about McGeeney and the depth that they've grown in Armagh. But Callum O'Neill, lads. Callum O'Neill,
yeah, exceptional. 3 points from midfield.
Second championship start. Unbelievable.
But Tommy, they had 11 different scorers yesterday as well. This is the thing. Armagh, yes, it would be magic to have this superstar Reid O'Neill, and he'd be nearly like a cherry on top. But they've such quality across their baseline of all their players is at such a high level. They don't have these. You look at the team we were speaking about 10 minutes ago with Dublin, they're up here and then they're down here with some of their players. Armagh have that consistently across, and that's credit to the coaches and the players for doing it. Callum O'Neill comes in. You look at Grimley and Creeley comes off the bench. He's obviously injured. But those guys were exceptional in midfield last year. Thinking they're not going to improve on that. Callum O'Neill comes in. It's like he's been there for 10 years.
I can't remember.
Just so settled.
No, McCurry.
Darren McCurry. GA plus fucked it all up now. Ever since I said on there, it has to go to the winner. Mark was doing commentary, was he?
McCurry.
Mark gave it to McCurry.
McCurry was exceptional, and he was
outstanding.
Morgan
10 points.
Morgan had an off day. The middle third had an off day. Derek Canavan had an off day. Owen McElhone comes in, Paddy, and I know you were impressed with this, Gosson. Still under 20.
Sugar. That guy's got sugar. He is gonna be. I like that guy.
Obviously, he is the exact. They have some now producing these forwards.
Isn't he? He's just like, what? He's all action.
But they started off with Rory, Darren, McCurry, and they brought on McElhone. I was actually thinking, is that Rory kind of after coming back on again? They are the absolute spitting image of themselves. But come here, I want to say one thing about the strength of both benches because they had a massive impact on the bench.
Yeah,
like Stephen Campbell. I know I've mentioned him 50 times in this pod, right? His turnover.
You had him as an all-star, Jimmy.
I did. His turnover on Michael McKernan as he was going in on the end line, right, where he stops him fisting the point. He then gets up the field to kick the point under pressure from the arc as well. That was a good boot. He wanted the responsibility.
That was nearly a 2-pointer.
Yeah, it could have been a 2-pointer.
Yeah.
But Turbot comes on, gets a point, and wins the free to equalise. Peter Hart gets that 2-pointer outside the left. And even on the
Creeley for Armagh.
Yeah, Creeley was excellent. But even on
Creeley comes on.
From McElhone. McElhone came on and gets those. He wins a free, gets 2 points. Another outstanding. So, like, the way the game has gone, the pace of it is so frenetic that you need a strong bench now more than ever. And I know Armagh have always had it with Campbell. They say, all right, we'll give you 15 minutes to make an impact or whatever. But I think every team is going to need 4 or 5 of those excellent subs to really contribute because fellas just going to be out on their feet. Like if you think about Jarlath Oak's point, Was it to equalise, right? He was standing...
To get them back within a point.
It was
22-20, and he gets the score on the D.
It was an excellent attack from Armagh, right? But he was standing on his own in the middle of the D for about 15 seconds, waving his hands. Because everyone was just wrecked. Do you know, your sharpness goes, your vision goes, your concentration goes when you're just that tired. He was just waving his hands. He was actually had no energy to even make a run. And eventually he just gets it and chips it over.
Do you know what, Jimmy? I actually don't think he even wanted to shoot there. He was in that position about 10 minutes beforehand, and I'm shouting at the head. He go, shoot, why are you not? And he was like, look at that, pass it off to someone. It was like, if I was in that position, I'd be, last resort is passing to someone else. But I agree that the depth of both panels, and that's the point. We started out this conversation by saying how good Tyrone were. Armagh, the question mark with them, this was their biggest game since winning the All-Ireland. Where were they at? I think they answered that
right there.
very, very well. Right there, with those guys coming back. You know, we said it, All-Ireland, winning the All-Ireland can have a hangover for teams who maybe haven't done it before, not used to it. Armagh, they put that question to bed. They're laser focused on that Ulster Final in 2 weeks' time against Donegal, but having the likes of Creeley, Turbot, Campbell back on the pitch for them, it's just, like say, Brad McQuillan is better. Callum O'Neill, it seems like another find as well. They just added to their arsenal. I thought it was a brilliant day for them. But for Tyrone, for Malachy O'Rourke, we've seen these sides. They whopped Dublin in the last game of the league. Very clinical against Cavan. McGeary wasn't, as anyone here is influential. That was the caveat I said with him last week. But he's shown glimpses that he's getting back to those levels. But to be able to call on the likes of Paddy Hart to come off that class 2-pointer. There's a 15 minutes, games in the melting pot. He's somebody you want on the pitch. And then a little bit of stardust like McElhone. Rory Canavan will get there. You know, it's early for him. He's had maybe a tough start to his senior inter-county career, but there's no doubt in his quality. Dara has got there, but Tyrone all of a sudden, from being in the depths for the last maybe 2 years, are showing signs that they are on serious trajectory. And that's what I'm saying for the All-Ireland series. Nobody's going to fancy playing them as a third seed either, lads. Just sets it up. They're going to have a big say in the summer, I have to say. But credit to Armagh.
It's still April. Like we've got
April 27th, baby.
Such a summer ahead of us.
But tell you what, Armagh, they're right in there to retain. Like 100%. They haven't lost that much. I know we're saying they're down Rian, but they seem to be bang at it. And you know, sometimes maybe an injury or two isn't the worst thing, because they missed the slog of coming back, and it kind of gets you fresh and wanting it again just by taking a month or 6 weeks out. It mightn't be the worst thing, a couple of them carrying a few knocks up to now.
I still think this is like purely pie in the sky. I'm pulling this one out of my arse here, lads. I'm sure people are rolling their eyes listening to it, but I just don't see it. I don't see someone retaining the All-Ireland. There's so little between the teams. The margins are so fine. I think it would be a massive ask for Armagh to win it again.
Their management is so strong, though. I think that's what gives them a bit of an X factor as well.
Yeah, maybe. But it's just a hunch. Literally, I'm not basing that on anything else other than I think for them to win the whole thing again back to back would be phenomenal to do it. But talk about answering any sort of questions there on Saturday. We know how intense that rivalry is. And sorry, that rivalry, rematch of last year's Ulster Final, where Armagh lose on penalties again. They're one of their latest heartbreaks. What a game that is set up for in 2 weeks' time. Back in Clonus, not Croke Park. So,
yes.
If it does go to penalties, it'll be gat.
There's nothing between these teams. There's nothing between these teams. So it's like Leinster Final, Ulster Final will be, I'd say, both draws. Both penalties.
Connacht Final is going to draw as well, lads. That went into the last
I think we're going to put something out there.
It's such a pity that Cork didn't beat Kerry. And I mean that with the greatest respect for Kerry.
Instantly.
But imagine Cork and Clare.
Edit that bit out.
Imagine we had 4 months of finals this weekend that we're going into the wire. Clare obviously entering the cauldron of Clarny, so I'm not sure. I think the spread is like...
Munster Championship's low to be Irish, lads. They should scrap that.
Long live the Provincial Championship.
Keep the Leinster Championship and the Ulster Championship.
It's alive and kicking, to quote Derek Kent from 2 years ago. Well, it is now, I suppose. There looks going to be great occasions. There was a point there I wanted to make, and I wanted to jump in on, and it's absolutely not mind. So I'm just going to recap on.
It's why Lowe they're strong favourites in the Leinster final.
Michael McMullen's piece. So Oisin Gallen starts his first game today in 8 weeks for Donegal. Kicks a point, lasts less than an hour. I really think they need this guy, Moulton. They need to get it out of him, the form that he had
He's
last
an
year.
all-star, he's a serious player.
I know, Paddy, but I think Donegal need him. They actually need him starting. They actually need their attack to be centered around him. I think he just adds that extra bit of dynamism that maybe they're not going to get up there. I just think he
Donegal, for me, are very professional in how they've approached the Ulster Championship. They've been favourites for all of the games, and they've executed without, blowing anyone out of the water. So very workmanlike, very professional. It's a tough schedule. We said it. Coming through to win that Ulster Championship from the preliminary side is very, very tough. But I think they are exactly where they want to be. I think Jim McGuinness will be absolutely delighted that his forwards have question marks over them. They've got to go out and perform. That maybe that little bit of tough love, that focus. I think Oisin Gallen will still have a massive summer ahead of him. But I think Donegal are just motoring along exactly how they would like to be. And I think what a game.
Yeah,
I know we're talking
about
it's going to be, but these are two bona fide All-Ireland contenders in the Ulster Final in 2 weeks' time. And do you know what it is? We're like, it was question marks. What would Armagh answer questions this weekend? Every team has to answer questions every weekend now because the games are so good and there's so much
and the carnage of them.
Yeah.
Like the fact that it's going up against Clare and Tip on the Saturday evening, like that's a Clare and Tip, two sides in their Munster Hurling Championship. They need a win after their defeats today. That is just going to be another.
What's that? The Ulster Final is on the Saturday, is it?
The same time as the Munster Hurling Championship round 3 between Clare and Tip. It's one's at 5:25, one's at 6 o'clock. So
there's so many games on. There's always going to be a clash. There's so many games.
But just to mention, just today, right?
Ulster Hurling's a load of shit anyway.
It's rubbish, isn't it?
Scrap Munster Hurling and the Munster Football Championship.
Let's get James Gale on the pod. Michael McMullen's report in the Examiner today. Now, I didn't catch the Donegal Derry game. It's on the BBC. But there was a moment.
Donegal down.
Respect
for the Mord men.
Sean Patton, otherwise flawless, but with his side leading 118 to 14 points, scuffs a kick out straight into the path of down substitute Shane Miller. Donegal's dashboard lights were flashing. With all eyes on him, Miller decided against squaring the ball to a teammate, and his angled shot was saved by Patton. A goal would have turned up the heat. If our goal chance goes in, the rules, the way they are now, the momentum, everything, said down manager Conor Laverty. I'm not saying we would have beaten Donegal, but I'm saying it would have made it very interesting coming down the home straight. They kick a 2-pointer and a point to bring it back to 3, but geez, that would have been interesting if it went down to the wire. Yeah, we haven't seen it. We haven't seen it.
But they didn't.
But if we scored 3 more goals, we'd have actually won by 3.
Being the best teams. Being the best teams means executing your big chances. Your conversion rate.
You're only as good as your conversion.
I'm just saying, I'm looking forward to watching the Sunday game back tonight so I can catch the highlights of Donegal. And maybe
got all their scores they would have won today.
Rewatch the league game. Downer 4th seeds now in the All-Ireland draw, as we mentioned.
They'll be a tough 4th seed.
Yeah, they will.
They will be a tough 4th seed. They'll be very sticky. You'd fancy them to get a result. Like the 4th seeds have found it hard to get results in the last 2 years. Did they get no points at all last year? Is that?
There was Westmeath and Sligo had a tough year. Sligo had a tough year last year in it. Westmeath the year before were close but didn't get a result. So
I mean, they're stronger this year.
Clare are going to be in it.
No, Clare 2nd seeds. You've Cork, you've Derry, you have Down and
Rossies,
Cavan.
Derry, Cavan, Cork down are the 4th seeds. Derry, Cavan, Cork down. Okay. Fellas, we have got a busy week. We have got a roadshow on Friday night in Galway. We have got a members pod coming later this week. We have done our Monday pod. Yeah, an hour in the books. Congratulations to you both. Paddy, fair play to you after the brilliant week in your own household. Big pressure off the back. And a tough day today for the Dubs. You turned up. You always turn up, Pete.
Maybe back into my daughter now. My 36-hour-old daughter. She put a smile on my face despite what happened in Portlaoise today, lads.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And obviously chatting to you guys puts a smile on my face as always.
Congrats.
Absolutely.
Congrats to you.
Jimmy, enjoy your pints. Tommy, you little bollocks. The Royals are back.
They're back, but they're going to get beaten in the Leinster final, according to Tommy. That's going to be the Yera talk coming out of Meath for the next 2 weeks.
Well, I've learned from the best. Paddy Andrews, James O'Donoghue, thanks very much to everybody tuning in. I enjoyed this week's episode of the Football Pod. We're back on Wednesday.
Bet you did.
And we're in Galway Friday night. If you're about, please pop in. we'll put on a show. See you, boys.
See you, boys.
Good night, friends.